Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me on another episode of In the Trenches. I have a very insightful guest to share with you tonight. He is a landscaping farm boy turned director of photography. He lives in Nashville, Tennessee, and is taking over the music video industry by storm. Every director, including myself, is looking to hire him. His name is Dylan Rucker. Dylan Rucker, how are you, brother?
Doing great, man.
Yeah, well,
great.
We got you in the house, literally, my house, and I'm stoked for tonight. I really am. I feel like we've had some guests out here that we've been talking a lot of business, but now tonight with the DP extraordinaire, I can get a little nerdy with it and dive in. You know, how you been? Besides taking over Nashville, shooting everything as we were just saying before we logged in.
I don't know about all that, but been good, man. Been good. I just trying to stay busy.
Trying. You are the definition of busy.
Well, it's been slow. It's actually been an interesting couple of months where it's like I feel busy, but it's like you look back and it's like, well,
am I keeping busy?
Yeah. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Production has slowed down. Production has slowed down.
Yeah. And, you know, with all of the things like the strike going on, all those things, we're in an interesting market to where, like, I've actually had, this is an interesting conversation, but that I don't know enough about to talk about too much, but it hasn't directly affected us in the sense of where it's like, we're not working on union sets, and usually we're not working with SAG actors and those sorts of things. So it hasn't directly affected us, but it feels like it has because of, like, the constantly evolving platform that what we do exists on. It's like, I remember like 2 years ago, the idea of a video of mine being on TikTok, it's like,
oh my, yeah.
So you just want to, are we, just real quick, we can cut this out. Are we any cursing or profanities?
Oh yeah, if you want.
Throw this out the damn window kind of?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want.
But it's like, if we were to see our work on TikTok, you'd be like, oh, you fucking ruined it, you know, kind of thing. And now it's like, wait, every music video I do has a version on TikTok. Exactly. And it's just like, it's a constantly evolving thing. And so that mixed in with like, well, what does the best on TikTok? It's like this lower produced, more organic feeling stuff. And so with the SAG strikes going on, with the WGA, like with every strike going on, with the constantly evolving music video and how the visuals get delivered and stuff, all those things have kind of feel like they've played a part in what we do. And so it kind of has felt like a little bit of a weird slowdown, but at the same time, people are consuming just as much. So it's just like a weird time right now where we're busy, but then it's like you look back and it's like, what have I been working on? What kind of stuff have I been?
Yeah, it doesn't feel clear. It feels kind of mucky. I mean, you started shooting. You kind of came into town. I know you as coming into town and doing. I mean, I know you probably did video as well, but you were touring with Cadillac 3.
Yep. So that actually kind of lends itself to that conversation too. It's like I came in touring in like 2018, 2019, and that was actually a weird time for like the content creator role.
When was it?
2018.
2018. Yep.
So I got married in June. We moved here in July, and then I started touring with Cadillac 3 in August. And then in December, we did like 20 days in Europe, and it was awesome.
Did you come to town to be a DP?
No, it was, I have kind of a long backstory, but the gist of it is that there was a guy whose brother married a girl.
Sounds like we're making a country song.
It is.
All right.
A guy married a girl, and this girl was posting about her brother-in-law doing music in Nashville. And I had owned a camera in Missouri and just like hanging out and shooting a couple weddings and hunting videos with my friends, that kind of thing. And she kept posting about this guy, Hunter Thomas Mounts, and he's like one of my best friends this day. But I was like, just hit him up on Twitter, and I was like, hey, dude, I've got this camera, and I would love to cut a lyric video for you. I see.
Why would you love to cut it? Did you want to jump in?
I wanted to do anything with that camera because I had spent $2,500 on a Sony A7S. Okay. And I was like, I don't want to do just lame stuff, just filming weddings and whatever with this camera. I was like, I want to do something cool.
But where did you want to see yourself? Did you even have a clue?
Didn't have a damn clue.
Okay.
Didn't have a damn clue. I loved country music, and
So what inspired you? music videos? Did you watch them?
Yeah. So I actually watched, music videos growing up. Like, it was a very, very extensive thing. Like, it was the classic, like, my mom and dad would always have CMT on Saturday mornings kind of thing. And it was like, the top 20 countdown. And I would watch, like, I would be like watching what was actually happening. I remember them having pretty impactful effects on me, when I was like a kid on that. And I remember like specific videos and like particularly, I actually don't know the name of the song, but it was the Rascal Flatts, where they said Mary Beth was scared to death to hear what the doctors would say. And I just remember that music video. Literally, I remember being like 12 years old and like crying, listening to this damn Rascal Flatts song, watching this music.
That's neat. Because that was me too. But, I hear a lot of guests come on and they're like, I got into it because I was inspired by content.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, okay. Tell me about it. Tell me more about it. Because I did not come up through that.
Yeah. So I just remember seeing it on television. And so that was a really big, impactful thing for me. And like, that was like, okay, now I love that. I didn't know anything about the process. I didn't know anything about any of it. And so anyways, I hit up this guy, Hunter. I do a lyric video for him. And like the way I was doing lyric videos, it was not like heavy graphics or heavy animation or anything. I would literally go and grab a buddy, because I lived in incredibly rural Missouri, like middle of nowhere. And so the songs that he was writing, the content was just the things that were happening around me every day. And so I was like, hey, dude, for $100, I'll go make you a lyric video. And I made a lyric video for him for $100. And I just went and filmed my buddy doing chores one morning. And it was like him feeding the cows, moving tractors, like just cleaning up. It was the end of harvest, it was early winter kind of thing. And so like he was done with harvest and I was just filming him just doing chores around the farm. Sent that off to him, made it for $100.
So you're DIY right now. You're doing the edit, you're doing the color, you're putting it together, boom. But you're in the trenches. You're learning it. You're learning every aspect.
Yep.
Now, were you like a YouTube, or you're studying a YouTube?
Sort of. I watched a YouTube video to learn how to use like the camera physically, like the mechanics of it.
It wasn't like a film school or anything.
No. Okay. By no means. Okay. And then like, dude, I'm telling you, like there was things like you can go back and watch these videos, but I remembered how to do slow motion, and I just watched it in Final Cut Pro. And so I would take a clip that I filmed in 24 frames per second and just click, slow it down to 50 frames per second, and it looked like he was moving in slow motion. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like, it doesn't look like very good slow motion, but it said this camera does slow motion. And so I just was a full commit. And so just like when I learned, and and then so Hunter had a buddy, did a lyric video for him for $100. And turned into another buddy. And I'm doing this all the while still in college in Missouri at the University of Missouri at Mizzou. And so I was just doing this literally between classes when I would go home for the weekends, whatever it was kind of thing. And it was like one guy connected me to another guy, did a lyric video for him. Another guy did a lyric video for him. And it literally like I probably ended up.
But you knew what lyric videos were because
I'd seen
all people doing them.
I'd seen
you
it.
Said, I'm going to do it this way.
Exactly.
I got an idea. Basically, you took your weakness.
Yep.
To your advantage.
Yep.
I've taught that for years.
Yep.
We all have weaknesses. Even to this day, most of our weaknesses are money, financial.
Yep.
So you find what you have to work with.
Yeah.
You base your idea around that. Or in your situation, you had the camera, you had this landscape, and you had your subject.
What I learned now is like people pay a lot of money for what was just happening around me. We pay a lot of money for actors, pay a lot of money for property, we pay a lot of money for sets, we pay a lot of money for all these things to happen, and animal wranglers, all this stuff. I'm like, my friends are just doing this out here every day, and if I hop in the truck with them, I can go film them doing exactly that.
Flash forward though, where I saw you, I was saying to you at some point, your photography is what made me see you. And again, maybe that's just really because of the platform of Instagram.
Sure.
You see photo.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Man, I remember how, and Cadillac 3 were my friends.
Mm-hmm.
They were the first people I met when I moved here 16 years ago.
The best dudes in Nashville.
Absolutely. Bang, bang, bang to, I mean,
Cadillac Black.
Cadillac Black. I even said to them on the phone, like, I think I said the wrong name. Cadillac Black. Like, what?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have photos of them as Cadillac Black with stickers and merch in Neil's
Jaren's handwriting.
Basement, yes.
Oh, well, that too.
Basement.
Yeah.
With like the doors and the mini blinds and stuff like that. Yes. Yeah. So I've always, so when I saw you with them, I'm like, wow, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know anything about you. However, I did notice a leap. Somehow you went from shooting photo, in my opinion, again, you might have shot video for them.
Yeah.
To like directing, to my apologies, DPing.
Yeah.
Music videos. Now, these music videos were probably lower budgets, but they didn't look that way.
Sure.
However, also, I would look at the directors and be like, I've never met that person. I don't know who that is. But yet I'm seeing this look.
Sure.
And it was definitely elevated.
Sure.
So that's how I came on to you.
Yeah. So how I got to that point was, one of the guys that I eventually met through the lyric videos was Neil Mason. And he obviously is the drummer for Cadillac 3. And I had never done any photo work at all. I'd only done those lyric videos. And I'd filmed a few weddings. Probably did like 15 weddings before I really got into like the lyric videos. And so anyways, I met Neil, got his number, and he was managing a couple of other smaller artists.
Sure.
And so he found out I was this guy making lyric videos for $200, and like you just call him and you get awesome footage from like actual real things about what these songs are about, kind of thing, blah, blah, blah. He just does it for $200. I had no idea that was no money at the time. But so anyways, fast forward, I decided I'm going to move to Nashville in July, right after I got married. My wife was super on board. She's been incredible for just like the encouraging nature of what we're doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
I have to have that.
it had to. And it's just been incredible having her support. And literally, she actually taught me how to use a camera. Like she taught me what f-stop was, shutter speed, ISO, all those things, because she had done photography in school. So she literally taught me the basic functions of a camera. So anyways, that's huge role she's played. And so anyways,
Still plays, by the way.
it absolutely
Our wives
plays.
play a massive role in my work. Honestly,
100%.
I'll say it. I approve the ideas she comes up with.
Lip, dude, I'm telling you.
I mean, she will come up with ideas. Hey, babe, I got to write an idea. Wolf just sent me a mix of this. You know, I'm like, play it. She's like, you just need to do blah, 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 blah. Like, I get mad. That's shit. No, it's not that. You know, I walk away and she's like,
Wait a second.
I told you so. You should always like your funeral if you don't use it. Anyway, back to what you were saying.
My wife is literally my biggest and best critic. And like the best, she's the only person who's like, can truly say, yeah, this was not good how you did this, or oh, this was really good how you did that. You should do more of that shit. Like to this day, like projects that I do.
Absolutely.
And it probably will be for a long, long time. But
it pisses me off, but yes, you know, she's like, why do you get so upset? And I go, honestly, I'll tell you why. Because I'm trying to impress you.
Yeah. Well, she is
I'm trying to impress you. And the fact that you're like, blah, 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 I'm like, it's dismissed.
Yeah, you know.
But she's usually right.
Right. Dude, it's crazy. It really is crazy. I think about that all the time with Lexi for sure, because she's been there since day one, and she literally to this day is like probably one of the only people who will legitimately be truly honest with me about how a thing is, or an idea that I have is, or like, because she's like, she gets the first rough draft of every idea that I have. So she's really, really good critic and really, really important part of my creative process. But so anyways, I have Neil Mason's number. I'm telling him, hey, dude, I'm texting him. I make his lyric video. Kind of moves on, you know, make his lyric video for him. Text him like, hey, dude, I'm moving to Nashville in July. Let me know if you need anything.
Yeah.
Ghost doesn't say anything. This is like January, February.
I didn't know you were gone. You were in Missouri.
Yep. And so that was like the beginning of the year. And then a couple of times throughout the year, I text him like, hey, man, would love to meet up, would love to work with Cadillac 3, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And long story short, he ignores me for like 4 or 5 months. And
Lead singers tend to, not singers, musicians tend to do that.
Yep. But so he left me hanging for a long time. And I was like, damn it, I'm moving to Nashville. And like, I want to work with them. And literally I came to CMA Fest in June. So we drove down for a weekend to go to like CMA Fest. I saw Cadillac 3 was playing at some tent. I knew what time their set was. And so we didn't even go watch the show, but I knew what time it was over. And I went behind the building and I saw a chain link fence, and I saw Cadillac 3 walking out of the set. I could hear the show was over. I saw them walking out. I was like, Neil, it's me. I'm the guy who made the lyric videos for you, blah, blah, blah. and this was like June of 2018. And like, hey man, it's good to meet you. He's real quiet. Like Neil's a really soft,
Very quiet, very.
And he's like always listening. He's that guy. But
Smart man.
very smart. And so literally this conversation happened probably about this far apart, but just imagine a chain link fence between us. Sure. And I was like, dude, I'm moving to town. Like, let's get together sometime. Would love to hang out and would love to work with you guys, kind of thing.
Dude, that's exactly, that's how I did it too.
Yeah.
Nothing would stop me. I want it.
Yep.
I want it.
Yep. And so I did that. I met with them, and I thought
Good for you.
Cadillac 3 was cool as fuck, and I loved what they were doing, and I felt like they were like good guys. Like I could see that because you can just see in their branding that they're that. And so Neil texted me, and I didn't realize what he was doing at the time. But I moved to town, and like first weekend of August, Neil texted me because I thought, okay, it's not gonna work out. Move on, and work on something different. Because I'm still doing lyric videos this time because I made all those contacts or whatever. But so anyways, I don't hear anything from Neil. I have a couple of other gigs going on. Like I'm doing a little bit of design work, which is kind of random, but for like posters and stuff like that. For like tour date announcements.
Making it work.
And literally at the end of July after we moved there, Neil texted me. He's like, hey man, there's this artist I want you to go out with for a weekend run. He was the guy that I did, Austin Jenks. He's the guy I did lyric videos for. And Austin's incredible, one of the best guys in the world. I got with him for a weekend, and basically Austin reports back to Neil, yeah, he doesn't suck. And the next weekend,
you're out with Cadillac.
And 2 years later, it was two of the coolest years of my life.
Yeah, I mean, and also I remember how you, well, I guess one of the same, laid out your work, the work.
Mm-hmm.
It felt very editorial.
Sure.
It felt very story driven.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew nothing of you.
Sure.
But I remembered that, and I remember you went by when
mustache video guy.
Yep. When people started to say Dylan, I'm like, okay, who's this? You know, I would tell Troy, I'm like, hey, you know, I see these, you know, I see the budget's a little low. I don't know who the director is. Maybe they, you know, again, young talent, you know, things to learn. Mm-hmm. But visually, there's something going on with this cat. You know, you definitely had a lot of videos out there when we first started working. I told you when we our first job was Michael Ray. Get her back.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Cool job.
Yes.
That was awesome.
What was working with me? Anything?
I loved it.
Different. What was your what was the working with me like? I mean, hell, I don't.
So the thing about
go off script
working with directors for the first time, it goes one of two ways. Either the director feels like they have to have their shit together, and then like all I need to do is like just the DP job.
Sure.
And then there's also directors who are like, hey, so this is the project, let's talk about it. And that's the directors I like working with. That's the directors that I'm like, okay, we might actually make something cool here. Yeah. And with you, it was like, well, first things first, you didn't text me about anything. You called me about everything.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, all right, this guy gets it.
Yeah, I don't text. I'm a caller. I make it. I figure out, hey, do you want to meet up? Let's talk. Boom, boom, boom. Time is precious.
Yeah.
You know, but I was looking at your work for a while. And I would test out. I would use DPs.
Sure.
And I would rock with them for a while. You know, and I'm kind of a fad director.
Sure.
I go through fads.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're yearly, sometimes they're photographically, cinematically, steady cam, color, more saturation. I mean, I can go deep on where I go into, but I'm a DP's director, and I always have been since day one. Where will you find me at set? By camera. Mm-hmm. I mean, to the detriment.
Sure. With
clients, where is Spidey? By the camera.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder, is my style now? See, you're getting me late in my career, but yet you've been working with newer talent, newer directors. Was working with me much different than those? In
a lot of ways, in some ways it was, in some ways it wasn't. In some ways, like, because I'm trying to think. I remember something I have a very vivid memory of us. together was, I don't even remember the name of the place we went to lunch. Where did we go to lunch?
I can't remember
wherever we went to
yesterday.
lunch. Yeah. It was just, I remember a conversation that we had was like, I know that like a word, common thing, but like, let's go like the Fincher look. Let's go the Fincher.
Sure.
And then something that you and I did a lot was like, well, what would we do if this is kind of what we were doing? If like we were going the Fincher look, let's lean into it. And I remember sitting at the monitor and you're like, lean into it, find what you're looking for. Like you were telling me that. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna take 5 more minutes.
I pushed you, right?
I mean, dude, it was like that's a young director thing. It's like young directors are like, oh, if he thinks it looks good, then it looks good. Let's do it.
Here, can I intervene?
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Yeah. And
do your thing. I can do 100 damn things. 200 things. If you want to get into the fabric of it.
Yeah.
I guess that's where I'm at. But
yeah. Well, I remember particularly the performance interview interrogation scene kind of thing.
Yeah.
I remember like you being like, take 10 more minutes if you need it. If it like I need it, and then you just let us dive in. And dude, what we ended up with on that felt.
Yeah. I learned that though. I mean,
sure.
God, 150 some odd later.
Yeah.
Videos. Where you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
You have to learn the pitfalls where DPs need a few more minutes to shine.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Especially, I think, too, an interesting part of what this town, being as small of a town as it is, like, I think it's really, 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 really important for DPs to work with all kinds of directors and directors to work with all kinds of DPs. And what that entails is a lot of first time working together. And so learning each other, how long it actually takes them to do this thing, or how long it actually takes her to do this thing, or how, like, maybe we've got the shot set up perfect, but this director, it takes 15 takes to get it right. Like, I think that there's a lot of like value in learning different people's process. And I preach this to all of my directors that I work with, young directors, experienced directors, whatever it is, like working with other people. Because what you were talking about a second ago is like how there's like, you kind of get into fads. And like, I noticed this about myself too. It's like, I can look back at videos that I did and be like, oh, I did that one like early this year, or late that year. Cause I was into this at that time. I was into this at that time. And so where I think the value of working with an array of people, you need to have your friends, have your couple of people you can always come back to. You need to have that. But like, I think that a really, really, really important thing is to always be working with different people, because you're learning different workflows, you're learning different processes, and you can learn on who you can take a little bit more time with, you can take a little less time with, what they like, what they don't like. And
DPs are chameleons.
We have to be.
You have to be between production, coordinate the production team, producer, coordinator, PM, director, AD, talent.
And then you have to go to your camera department and your electric department and act like everything is super easy.
Absolutely.
Because they don't want to be like, the last thing you can do is go to the two departments that you're in charge of and be stressed out, pulling your own hair out because all the other parts around you are. And so you've got to go to those guys. They don't want to like, maybe we should do this. It's like, no, move this light over here, move this, like, this is what we need to do. I need this light to wrap a bit more. And then they just need to hear that. And so it's like all those moving compartments. It's like, you've got to be an artist, and then you've got to be a chameleon. Every job, every director, every producer.
How clear was I?
I felt like what you and I had. I feel like this. I think we
can talk about both jobs. We did Bailey Zimmerman too.
Yeah,
which was a different struggle. I mean, every music video you do.
Well, there's something we can juxtapose those two jobs. So the first job, Michael Ray, when you went and sat down at the monitor for the first time, I think you knew exactly what that image was going to look like.
Sure.
Because we had spent so much time talking about what that image was going to look like. And so when you sat down at the monitor, this is exactly what we talked about. I remember a moment on Bailey when you were like, we need more moving lights, we need more of this. And I hadn't planned.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
That was a panic. I had a panic. Yep. And I was dealing with some stuff with some other areas of production at that moment. I remember that. There's felt so like we were, but yes, we looked at the film, our reference. What was our film?
That one was, I use that all the time.
The Deaf.
Yes. Sound of Metal.
Sound of Metal. For the lighting of that, and I guess, that was a thing. Yeah, we were, but I love the result of that.
Well, what we did, what you voicing that concern on the day, we got real creative. And I don't even know if you saw what went down, but we were like, we did the lights moving more. I literally put electricians on each of the dimmers, and they were just cranking them.
Sure.
Just literally turned.
Did I make you nervous in any way, shape, or form?
No,
I mean, I'm controlling the frame.
Sure.
I'm definitely controlling the frame, all four corners at all times, whether it's 2 cameras, 1 camera, I don't care.
Yeah.
I know what's happening. Does that help you?
3 years ago would have made me, I would have shit my pants.
Sure.
when we did it, it was good because I think something that I learned is I've been, the value, one of the values that I've gained from working with an array of directors rather than just one director that me and that director hit it off. So we do everything together. It's like I work with a bunch of directors. So I kind of set up things that are like insurance pieces is what I call them. And it's a lot when you shoot females. A lot of times you have to have a little bit more fill, or you have to bring a little more up from underneath or something like that with lights. And so it's like, at first it was like, I would set up this big, beautiful key because we have to make this big, beautiful light. And then they'd be like, well, we need more on the shadow side. I'm like, okay, let's build a shadow. Let's build a fill light. But now it's like, I already have a setting over there.
Who is saying they need more on the shadows?
It's usually not directors.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so anyways, insurance pieces that I set up on the Bailey video specifically was individual dimmers, making sure that they were on the ground just in case.
Our first shot, if I remember, on Bailey's religiously was confessional booth.
The booths. Yeah.
And to me, the first sequence that you shoot in any job is the most stressful because you're trying to figure out the language.
Yep.
Not only the lighting language, you're also figuring out the lensing language. And you're just starting the day, getting the going. And I feel, and I'm notorious. I am notorious. The first thing my wife will say as I'm leaving the house to go to work, don't overshoot the first setup. You know, it's not overshoot the first setup.
It happens.
Because really, what you're doing as a director is you're unsure of yourself. You don't know what's going on. You're seeing things. You're like, yeah, that's dope. That's cool too.
Yeah.
I don't like that. No. Hey, fix that. So over time, you keep cranking it. You're like, I love it. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So for me, it's easy for the edits. You go to the last, 3 takes of every sequence?
Yep. That's probably the good ones. Yeah.
Run them.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, I mean, you can get some filler elsewhere if you need to pepper it. But what would be the defining moment that transitioned you, though, from content? You broke through the wall. Hey, Neil, what's up? Through the fence. Okay, you're starting to work with Cadillac. You're shooting their thing. You got my attention through the other mustache video guy. Okay, cool. But then I see these videos, these maybe $10,000, $15,000 videos. Yeah. Alexa Campbell, who I'm a huge fan of.
She's awesome. We did Carly videos and stuff.
I remember your work with Alexa Campbell more than anyone because of the female side of things. Yeah. And she's a young director. And she kind of came from, again, the content side. So she's coming up through touring. You know, and I've often wondered that, how tour content creators shift into, okay, I'm going to stop that, or I'm going to put that on the back burner, and now I'm going to more design my sets. I'm going to write the treatments. I'm going to be in charge of the crew. All that stuff. And so you started to do that. How did that transition happen?
So an interesting thing with Cadillac 3 was that Neil managed 3 other artists. And so what that meant was me and Neil would be on the back of the bus after the show. And people who know Neil are like, as soon as the show's over, show Neil is done, he's officially business Neil. So we would go sit in the back of the bus and be like, hey, I've got Austin Jenks and we've got a little bit of budget to go make a music video. Let's go make a music video for him. And he'd just start sending out ideas. And literally, I did a video and I was like, I didn't know what the hell a DP was, or a director was, or an AC was. And me and Troy literally went to a Dunkin' Donuts because I knew Troy made videos.
Troy.
Yeah.
My Troy.
This Troy sitting right there. We went to a Dunkin' Donuts and we said, hey, man, let's go make a video. And sure enough, I don't know, one of us probably talked about Nick Allen.
I need a camera for you. I need a camera and mic, Troy.
Yeah.
This is you right here.
Well, literally, I every time I drive by it's by Hotel Preston out on 40.
Yeah.
There's a Dunkin' right there at the bottom.
Yeah.
Me and Troy literally sat there for like 2 hours one afternoon.
Wow, that's small world.
It is. And we did a music video. Basically, we talked about it, and I don't remember what point, but we were like, Nick Allen is an incredible. I think he had just started like popping off as a DP, like truly as DP, left contrast as a rental house guy.
He's gonna come on here.
Yeah, he's incredible. And so we chatted with him, and like he was the one who was like, "So I'm gonna need a gaffer." I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And so literally we had $15,000, and me and Troy figured out a way to get a gaffer and to get a key grip and all these things that Nick wanted. And then we go forward to go make this music video, and it was awesome. It was a cool experience, and learned a shit ton. We did a shit ton the wrong way. We did a shit ton. Like if we were to look at it now, I'd be like, what idiots put that video together? It was awesome, and we learned a ton. And literally what I did on that was like a couple of months after that video, because of course like that happened on a Tuesday or Wednesday, because I had to get a bus call Wednesday midnight and would be out with the band. And what it ended up happening was I was like, wait, what Nick does is what I want to do. And so I'd met, over the course of touring with a band like Cadillac 3, we opened up for a bunch of people.
Sure.
So I met a bunch of other tour photographers. One of those tour photographers being Alex Ferrari. And so he was working with Maren Morse at the time. He worked with Maren from before my church to up until the Bones. Like they'd worked together that run. Okay. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm just not creatively satisfied out here on the road.
Okay.
And so this is where the beginning of the conversation we were talking about how what even is the applicable art to being on the road? What is all of this?
We just getting warmed up. Yeah.
All of that stuff. Yeah. And so I was to the point where I was like, we didn't even talk about it. It was just a thing that just stopped happening. I didn't make weekend recaps anymore because I was posting them and it's like, who cares if we were in
who still cares
this venue? And so I was cutting these videos together and I was spending so much time on these videos and it was like, nobody was watching them. The band didn't care. They didn't even look at the edits. They just posted on there. And it's like, so I just stopped and I was like, what creatively?
You felt devalued creatively?
Devalued creatively because in like 2014, 2015, like the weekend tour recap was still new and like fresh and people were like, oh, I wanted to see what the Cadillac 3 did on this show or whatever, or like if I could see myself in the crowd in the shot or whatever. And so that's actually where it came in, the multiple images that you were talking about. I just got on Photoshop and just started messing around with like the images. And like I said, this was like 2018 that I was like, what can I do to make their Instagram post more interesting? And that style of posting actually did improve their Instagram interactions.
You did.
We stopped the videos and just kept doing that. And then other people started doing it. And then I started saying, oh, all these other artists are doing it. And now there's literally apps to do what I was doing in Photoshop.
You know what it does? It gives mystique. Now, the thing with video, the video is very telling.
Mm-hmm.
Telling.
Yeah.
And too much of it can tell too much.
Yeah.
And, you can kind of just over-tell it.
Yeah.
With photo, you can give it mystique. And you did that with them, for sure.
So, I don't know if we want to dive clear into this or not yet, but one of the things that, so the love-hate thing that I have with social media is like some artists need, like the thing about Jelly Roll that's so special is that Jelly Roll is actually the greatest fucking dude. Like he is, like a couple of times, 3 times that I've been around him and like the things that he's done and I've been around, I've been like, that guy's awesome. Like he made everybody feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
He was so kind to everyone. There was this photo shoot that I was doing at this event. We did like a photo booth kind of set up where like people would come through. It was a CMA Fest. We'd come through, they'd take their photo, they'd go on down the line to whatever they had to go do next. And Jelly came through. He's like, man, I love all y'all. He's like, I'm going to come back. We're all going to do a shot. And we're like, oh yeah, that's funny, blah, blah, blah. And we just kind of forgot about it. And like an hour and a half later, Jelly comes back. He himself is carrying a platter and there's like 8 shots on it. He's like, yo, I came back with a shot. And we all did shots with Jelly Roll.
That's awesome.
So he's that incredible guy. But what Jelly has is so special is like his TikTok presence and like his wife's TikTok presence is like you love them as characters. You love them as, it's like almost reality television, the same sort of involved that you are in their lives that TikTok gives you. But I am more interested in the artist and then the real human being two completely separate people. And the real human doesn't need any sort of, let them go be a real human, but let Cadillac 3 be an enigma. Let them be something that you don't know anything about. Those guys are just fucking rock stars. Yeah. And that was like, to me, the coolest thing about Cadillac 3 is like, they're not doing TikTok selfies at home and they're like, hey, we're just sitting back and tonight chilling. It's like they are putting out their work, dropping their content, playing their shows, and then that's Cadillac 3, and then Jerry, Neal, and Kelby are over here. And so I think that certain artists need that, like you said, mystique, that like that there needs to be a bit of an enigma. You don't need to know everything about all of their lives. And so that was the interesting thing that I really...
There needs to be some allure.
Because it's like, if they're a superstar, but they're like me,
then
they're not a superstar. They're like me.
That's what I say. You shit to bed.
And it's like...
If all of a sudden I can relate like it's me, then...
Well, then they're not that cool.
Well, then they're not. That's, I mean, I have, that's been one of my skills.
Yeah.
As an image maker, as a photographer, as a director, is that, you know, I get close with these artists, you know, and it's maintaining this kind of objective or subjective, you know what I mean, where I'm still trying to look at them like I didn't get led behind the curtain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The Wizard of Oz, it's like the man behind the curtain. It's like it makes it a lot less interesting whenever you know what it's like to be them. And it's like, I think the thing about Cadillac 3 that was so cool was that those dudes as a Cadillac 3 were just look like fucking rock stars. And then it's like when you hang out with them, obviously they're just dudes just like us, and they're like talking about what they're getting for dinner and like texting their wives and like doing this, you know, like they're just normal people just like everybody else. But it's like, if we could make them look and feel like rock stars, that's what I'm interested in. I think that like every bit that I can do with artists is to make them feel like superstar, because I think about, and I've had this conversation a lot, is like, it's like with AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Aerosmith, like those rock stars. Like when I was a kid, like they were like the ones you think, those are rock stars. Like you didn't know anything about them. You didn't know.
The mystique is what did it.
Slash.
See, I came from that era.
And glasses.
That's
and
it.
You didn't even know what he looked like.
That's it.
He put his hair back and took his glasses off. You wouldn't even know Slash if he sat across the table from you.
That's it.
And so I'm like, that is cool. And I think that there's a few artists.
Hell, that's what I said to Wolf and Yellow Wolf and team back 2014 or something. Like, let's saturate the market with only dope shit.
I think that something that like Hardy and Morgan do really well is like, if this is such a stupid thing, but like I talk with my artist friends all the time. Like I have a buddy, Hunter Thomas Mounts, I was telling you about. It's like, he is an awesome artist. He's a great guy. And like, that's kind of his shtick. Like that's his artist's brand.
Sure.
But something we've talked about a lot with his artistry is, could you dress up as Hunter Thomas Mounts for Halloween? And you can with Morgan, you can with Hardy, because their branding is so distinct that it's not just a guy. If you dress up like this, I could be just a guy. Sure. But if you dress up like an artist who has like this heightened thing, you can dress up like Slash. You can dress up like Angus. Like you can dress up like any insert rock star from the 60s, 70s, 80s here, and you can dress up like them. And I'm like, that is something that's so cool about Cadillac 3 thing, is like they're just rock stars, and then like you don't know anything about Jerry, Neal, or Kelby.
Sure.
And I don't know. I just think that is a really cool part. And another rule that we kind of had with the Cadillac 3 was I didn't shoot them ever. I wasn't even allowed to have the camera around them until they were in their stage show, in their stage clothes.
Really?
And so I didn't work until 5 o'clock most days.
Right. Wow.
It's like they didn't want it. And so it's like we really separated the rock stars, because a normal is just kind of normal. And it's like, that's the damn thing about so many artists. Some artists should, like I said, Jelly, it's like you want to know about. Like it's like Thomas Rhett and Lauren, his wife. Like the reason that they are, like the reason that song is so special, the Happy Man song. It's like the reason that song is so special is because you've seen their story unfold, and you've seen how much they care for each other and love for each other on so many levels. And so that's why that works. But it's like, if you're going to be a star, you're going to be a rock star, and your brand's going to be to put these glasses on, wear your hat like this, and you're going to stand at the mic and crush. It's like, gotta be able to dress up like you for Halloween.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think that is like something that was what I tried to capture all the time. I wanted to make them feel larger.
Do you feel that is going away at all in any way? Like
Yeah, absolutely.
The attention to
Absolutely.
the attention to. I use this word a lot. It's such a good word. Craft.
Yes.
To
Absolutely.
craft. Craft, it means so much to me, and someday I'll break it down, but hopefully everybody understands what craft means. But to craft a career, to craft a project, to craft an image, you know, are we too busy with cranking that machine?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Feed it.
Sure.
Feed it. Don't worry, no one's gonna remember. They're just gonna swipe it.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I mean, you know, just sitting back listening to you, you're talking so much of a content based foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And though as a photographer, I've embraced content.
Sure.
I don't think I've ever embraced it from a directorial standpoint.
Sure.
You know, I come from this, you know, I mean, I used to get nervous, scared to show up at production companies because there was so much weight to being a director and to be one day doing these jobs. And you carve and you make your way and you do it, you know, and then, you know, things change in the business, you know, and so it's so interesting to see how the craft of things has shifted. And for me, I would agree. I would say that production feels more these days in Nashville or within music. Less high-end, distinct, crafted production, substitute for doc-based reality. Maybe we'll shoot it with some nice cameras, and let's extract it for as much as we can. Let's feed on this bone and get as much as we can out of it. Is that kind of something that you feel from a DP standpoint? I'm saying it from a directorial standpoint, you know?
Yes. So literally, the literal reality of that is that most music videos are like, literally, I'm not kidding, probably 60 to 70% of music videos that I do, 60 to 70%, we're shooting more than just one music video that day.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite stuff that I've done this year, it's like that was one of 3 videos we did that day. So that is a very literal breakdown of it's like
Jesus. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, it's literally.
Are you serious?
Literally, seriously. Like
I thought I knew everything, and now I'm like, what?
No, dude, I'm telling you. So there's a lot.
Are you shooting, or is there another unit doing that?
That's doing it.
So you're breaking away from. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at it from this way. I always look at it this way. Even if it's mental or if it's like Troy and I's conversation.
Yeah.
Is it tier 1, tier 2, tier 3? You know, tier 1 is that upper branding. You know, it's emotive. It's that it's Air Force One. You know, tier 2, it's more put it in the center, right down the middle, crop dust, get it to the masses.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at my photos. I'm like,
Sure.
tier 1? Is it tier 1? How big?
Sure.
You know, look at it from different angles. You know, I put so much stock into where, what, how to brand an artist. Sometimes I feel like I'm beating my fucking head because are people caring? Are people gonna lean in on what I know? Or are we being dictated by, again, volume?
Yeah.
Is volume going? I mean, again, I'm not trying to be a doomsdayer. I do what I have to do to survive as well.
Yeah.
But here we are having a conversation. Is like, God, I remember, you know what I mean? Like, I know I'm preaching it to the choir, but like, you know, is it because of video? Do you miss it all? Do you wish you came from the film era?
Sort of.
Because again, the reason I parlay that question is because with film, you were limited to what you could extract and put out. So, more effort was put into that art.
Yeah. So my motivation for what I do is obviously my goal is to make movies. Like that's what I want to do.
Good.
And so I treat and approach everything as if, even if it's this tiny little budget music video, I go into it the mindset, because I'm a firm believer in what you do, you're always going to be what you do. And so it's like, no matter how you treat something at this size, you treat everything like you treat anything. And so it's like, if you have $1 million project and you treat it like it's the greatest, coolest thing of all time, you better have been treating the $5,000 project the exact same way, because that's already instilled in your brain. And so if you're going to be lazy about these small things, then you're probably going to figure out a way to mess up this big thing. So I treat every small thing. I treat everything. I can't remember how I say that. Treat everything like you treat anything. And it's like, I mean, literally, it says, go back to the being a dad thing. It's like, you have to be the best. The hardest part about parenting is that you have to be the absolute best dad you can be every single fucking day. Sure. You can't just be the best dad.
Can't phone that shit in
on Friday and Saturday, because your kids are going to remember every single day. And so I treat my work the same way. It's like, I'm going to treat a $5,000 video the exact same way that I'm going to treat a $100,000 video or $1 million video or whatever it is. And so how that plays into all this is, yes, there is a volume issue that's one issue that I have, where it's like, we're shooting to such high volumes that
you're sacrificing the
integrity of true artistic ability.
Sure. What, you're lying awake in bed at night while everyone is sleeping at night, something's crawled up in your spine, you're like,
but I think we can find it. You know, I mean,
if we move the camera this way, is there?
But I got to talk to the director. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, or do you just go?
If you're doing 4 videos in one day, you can't do that.
It's a lost art.
Yeah.
I wonder. I mean, yes, keep going.
But the hope that I have, my aspirations between now and doing big movies, is I truly believe there are artists who give a huge shit about their whole, the artistry as a whole, and something musical artists who give a shit. I think of and this is hilarious, but Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak with Silk Sonic. That visually was one of the coolest things I've ever seen, and you could tell they dove in and they brought in an incredible team and made it look a certain way. Mm-hmm. Billie Eilish, everything she does is like, oh shit, she spent a bunch of money. Obviously Taylor Swift, like, it's like she's gonna spend $1 million on a thing. And so there are artists doing that thing. And so what I'm doing is I'm treating because the fucking painful truth is that TikTok's only getting bigger, more documentary style, more candid, more selfie style, more of those things are becoming popular. But there are artists who treat videos like they're something. And I think that something that that's different from music and the visual side that is necessary, and the reason that I will say music videos need to exist forever, is that music you can listen to passively. Like, you can just put an earbud in and go do chores. Sure. But when a video comes on and you give a shit about it, you have to stop, you have to settle in, you have to watch that visual thing for the entire time that visual thing exists. And so I believe that is an incredibly important part of the other half of a music, of a song.
Art is branding.
Is the visual side. And so I know that it exists. I know it's going to continue to exist. And I don't think that with everybody having the ability to see visual things on their phone, I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, no matter how low quality it is, no matter how infrequently it happens. But certain artists and certain people will be doing things that they really care about, spending a lot of money, spending a lot of time, and actually putting forward the effort to be worth something. And so my goal is, as I'm doing these $5,000 music videos, $25,000 music videos, 5 music videos in a day for $75,000, whatever it is to treat them like that, so that whenever that artist that I'm working with, or this big artist calls, or this big director calls, I'm ready. It's the same old hat. It's not a new hat.
Staying humble, staying fierce. Now, are you
having to stay busy?
Are you being more selective though on what you take? Like, for example, I can tell you a story of a wonderful DP, Jonathan Sella.
Yeah.
We did numbers of jobs, and by numbers I mean probably just shy of 20. Jonathan Sella is a DP who now has done Die Hard, Transformers, to everything. And I remember working with him on a number of early videos, Good Charlotte and stuff like that. And then there was a point later when he started work with Jake Nava. I don't even know if you know who Jake Nava is. When he started,
I might know the work.
when Britney Spears' work shifted into like, oh shit,
Yeah.
that was Jake Nava and Jonathan Sella.
Sure.
And Beyonce, Jonathan Sella. Anyway, he was young. He's just an amazing DP.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm privileged to ever worked with him.
Sure.
Why did I mention him?
We were talking about, well, going from small jobs to big jobs.
Oh, yes. And I remember on a Lilix job, an artist was in Vancouver, and he was available, but he asked me, he's like, hey, can I see the location photos before I commit to the job? I was like, hey, Frank, that's new. Jonathan didn't just say, yeah, fucking let's go.
Yeah.
You know, because he was getting really busy and his stock was getting really big.
Sure.
And he wanted to know if he was going to make the travels, because everything he does, he was going to thread the needle. And he did. He had to catch a flight. He had to leave.
Sure.
I get to Seattle. You know, is it going to be worth it? And he showed up. We showed him this location. He's like, okay, let's go. What's wrong? I'm a great location. Anyway, I've had the privilege of working with so many DPs.
Yeah.
So many amazing DPs that the reason I wanted you on this podcast is because I feel since I moved to Nashville from LA, when I was in Los Angeles, I was very exclusive with DPs. We would just we would constantly go to get breakfast, lunch,
right,
coffee, whatever. Talk, nerd out. And it was real collaborative. And then I worked with you on those two jobs. On the first job, I will say, I want to know something because I was enamored by what you delivered to me.
Sure.
Troy, do you remember the book? He gave me a lookbook. And I hadn't received that ever by no DP.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I'm not a reference guy. I'm like, okay, yeah, it sounds great now, but we'll see when we get in the trenches. We'll see what happens then.
Yeah.
We finished the job on Michael Ray's Get Her Back. And I would honestly tell you, with the lookbook, with the photos you sent me, with everything laid out, with the with how available you were to meet, talk, this, and that, it was refreshing to me back to my early, to the Jonathan Sella, the Chris Probst days of DPs, you know. And I will say at the end of that job, it was, you tell me, but I'm going to say it was about 95% accurate. What you had shown me, what you want to do. Now, again, it's collaborative of a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of things fell into place.
Troy, to every human. But what it really was your effort.
Sure.
Your focus to deliver and to keep moving through. And I tested you. I watched you off the puck, and you were always busy. And I told you, I was even very honest from the very beginning. You work with a lot of people. I'm kind of into some avant-garde, some different things. Push your shit. Push it. I want something fresh. So anyway, I want to know about your process, because I was enamored by how. And by the way, the second video, Bailey Zimmerman, just as accurate. And that was even more crazy because that was a 1 day,
like 3 or 4
company moves.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. So, there's kind of two things about that. So the first thing is, like, obviously preparation is everything. I actually had a meeting today about the movie that I'm doing next year, at the beginning of next year. And to me, I think something that I talk about and think about a lot is I would way more prefer to be over-prepared than under-prepared.
Always.
And I am a firm believer in the best shit comes from the improv.
Can I tell you what?
Please do.
Can I improvise?
Please do.
an improviser, like intervene.
Mm-hmm.
My father has raised me as a militantly.
Yeah.
7 P's. You know what they are?
What's that? I don't know. 7 P's.
Proper, prior, planning, prevents, piss, poor, performance.
Yeah, that's great. I need to get that tattooed.
Yeah.
Right? But dude, so I am a firm believer. And I've done a couple projects recently where I've chatted with the director about it. It's like I want to go in with like it was the lookbook. I do that for not every job, but most jobs, and jobs that we're not shooting 4 music videos in a day, or like there's not also 2 performance videos. Like whenever it's a real job and like we're doing the real thing, I do it pretty much for all of those. So I'm a firm believer, and you have to have a guide and a rule book that when you go in,
Blueprint, yeah.
because when you go off the beaten path, which inevitably you do, because some directors like to shoot the shit out of the first setup, some directors like to do that, whatever it is, and
There we go.
but
I definitely go off the cut. We'll get into me.
just being able to have, we can always go back to this because we know this will work. This plan that we set up will always work. Let's go over here for like 10 minutes and just fuck around with this. There's been times where recently, like there's this video that I did, one of my favorite shot of the whole video. The camera was sitting on the Steadicam dock, and the set was over here, and it was facing kind of like over there. And I was like, okay, cool. Like we'll settle in everything. Okay. The lighting looks great. Went over to the monitor and I was like, oh fuck, roll the camera, roll the camera. It looks great. Bring them in, bring in the talent. And we literally just set them over here against this wall that was over there and had nothing to do with the set that we had meticulously designed and built.
Love it.
But because we had set this parameter that we knew this would work, all of a sudden you have freedom.
Was your stress is down?
100%. It's like this.
Now you're like, look, well, let's play taking.
Yep.
Let's play.
Yeah.
We got this in the bag.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that to me is the most important part of the process.
Playing,
So
right?
being able to be so prepared with knowing I am very close with ADs, because a lot of times you hear about ADs and DPs going like this. It's like, no, we're going to keep fucking shooting. I'm like, I'm not that DP where it's like, I'm going to yell at the AD because I need more time to light or I need more time to shoot or whatever. Like everybody's on the same team here. There's the kicker of all this is whenever you do a music video, the whole thing, no matter how pissy the producer is, or the director is the DP, or the DP is the AD, or whoever's. The thing is, there's only one video that's being made. It's not the producer's video. It's not the director's video. It's not the AD's video. It's not the DP's video. We're all making the same video. It's like there's no point in us all being against each other at any point in this. So the part of being planned means that you can be collaborative. And if you can be collaborative, then you can get real creative. And so that, to me, is the most important part of the process. And what I mean by being planned is being realistic when you're working on the schedule with the director and the AD. And it's going to take me 90 minutes to set this up. And art's going to be there for 60 anyway. So it's like, give us the 90 minutes. This one's going to be worth it. Taking that time and then give us 40 minutes to shoot this set. Give us 10 minutes to move over here so we can do 15 minutes of that, blah, blah, blah. It's going to take us this long to light this. It's going to take us this long to do this. It's going to take us this long to dress this, block this, rehearse that. And if you're realistic and you're properly planned, then, like I said, like when we get into it and you're actually in it,
your game mode, your tournament.
Have fun.
I'm ready. I didn't feel like, was there any shockers when you worked with me that for the first time? Because we were very planned.
No, I feel like we were so planned. Like I said, it kind of goes back to when you sit down at the monitor for the first time, you're like, oh, yeah, that's kind of what we talked about. Like there wasn't any guesses. And it's like from there, then it's like, okay, now let's fuck around with the Steadicam. Maybe the Steadicam comes in like this and then it comes back.
I want to say from a directorial standpoint, from my lens.
Yeah.
My perspective.
Sure.
There's a time when I'm going to say Jonathan Sella.
Yeah.
He evoked, I'm pretty sure Frank would agree with this. He evoked such confidence.
Sure.
In me, in the director. Because everything was okay. He never stressed out. At a job, I remember being out in a night shoot, double night shoot, out in the Canyons, LA somewhere. Whatever. We couldn't afford or get Muscos or what Musco lights to do it. We need more drink?
I do, actually.
Yeah.
Is there another one of those cans over there?
Always. We got ice there. But don't know what it was, wind or whatever, you know. It's a long story short, but he comes in late, you know, night shoot with his backpack, you know, and he's from Israel, and he's just like, hey, but we can't, Jonathan, we cannot have the Muscos now. We can't even have the Condors now. And he's like,
It's okay. No, they're good. Okay, yeah, we'll be fine.
you know, and you're like, okay, we're gonna be fine. He says we're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
You know, and he was so production friendly too.
Yeah.
You know, there's I remembered that so much. I do remember that with you as well.
Sure.
By the way, I do remember, because I do remember from our jobs, we were under the gun most of them.
Most of the time. Every video.
Time.
Yeah.
Time is your enemy. Now, there's a reason is because you're trying to perfect things, and you're going to. Sorry, Troy. You're gonna take it to the edge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna push.
Yeah.
We're gonna push the clock.
Yeah.
To the edge.
Yeah.
It's a job.
It is.
Like I said, I'm a DP's director. I'm not a producer's director. Sure. I'm gonna push that clock. Did I push you?
Absolutely. I remember being at the monitor and you just telling me, like, keep going. Just keep going. Like, all right, we're
not there yet, right?
We're gonna make it right. Yeah.
And we're not there yet.
Yeah.
It's no point in shooting shit if you're just gonna sit in the edit and be like, nah, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I won't use it. I'm a frame fucker in the edit. Yeah. I'm a frame fucker. You know?
I think that is. So back to the thing of where there's only one video being made. It's not the producer's video directors, blah, blah, blah. It's not that. I think that there's a really good relationship that needs to happen with all of the crew where, you know, the AD's job is to push back on how long this is taking or how long we're taking. And I think that there should be all of those things, because you're going to be digging out the best stuff if everybody's kind of pushing all at the same time. And the reality of a music video is that it's like, we are never properly scheduled. We are way over scheduled. And it's like, you're going to have to make compromises somewhere. And that's why if you come in with a good plan, you're going to have to make this compromise. Well, guess what? We found this other thing that's way fucking cooler anyways. Let's compromise. Let's do it. Let's move on. And so that's like kind of the bottom line of the music video dance. We're all making the same video. We all have to do our job. We all have to push on each other a little bit, and the producer's going to push on the director, and the sometimes if it's a music video, the record label's going to be standing right there at the monitor too and be like, hey, we think we should lighten up their face. We think we should, they don't look this super flattering or
but
whatever.
We're learning about that there. Yes, you're going to get that. Now, I don't mean to interrupt you, but are you, as you're moving forward to, like you said, your goal is movies. Mm-hmm. At some point, you're going to have a filtration of what I'm not going to do anymore, because the product isn't meeting where you need to meet, whether it's because the director doesn't have a strong enough stance with the label to say this is how it needs to be. My DP and I have talked extensively. Well, we need to open up the face, or we need to do this. I mean, hell, I've said that to you.
Yeah.
Are we going to have detail in transfer? Yes, if you need it, you need it. But we have this for now. Fine, done.
Sure.
You know,
the kind of circling back to what you were talking about earlier about the when do you say no to jobs? I haven't started that yet.
Really?
I've never said no to a job. And I have
in the podcast. That's great. That's interesting, right?
There's some methods to the madness. Because you don't know what you don't know. First off, that's always
for sure. I love it. I love hearing it.
100% the.
And what do you mean specifically what's in your mind, but you don't know what you don't? That's a buzz phrase, but
sometimes
you don't know if that director's going to be the next big thing, and you're going to be off doing a movie and blah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, dude, you're right on that.
I will tell you, the selfish part of being who we are is you never actually know. People ask me all the time, like, how do you get work, or how do you get started, or how do you blah blah blah. I'm like, first off, you just got to start shooting shit. That you just got to figure out how to do it, whether that's working for free, buying a $200 camera and shooting a friend and acting like they're an artist, whatever. Figure out how to shoot shit. You got to start shooting shit, because you literally, I'm shooting a movie for real, like a real movie with real everything, the next couple of months, starting in December, and we're going to end up in February. And the crazy,
That's awesome.
I'm pumped.
Cool. We'll get to that. Don't let me wrap out without that. 'Cause that's cool shit.
Of all of the ways that I would have got that movie, I would have thought some producer would have seen my work, or they would have seen this, or this director was just really inspired by this video, or by the texture. You want it. Your dream is that someone's going to see the art and they're going to understand it. The reason I'm getting the movie is because Eric Williams and I, the first AD, were on set for Alexa Campbell's music video 3 years ago.
Okay.
For Carly Pierce.
Okay.
And I said, Eric, I really want to make fucking movies. Fast forward 3 years, he calls me, he's like, hey, you said you want to make movies, right? I've got an opportunity. Let's do it. He's co-directing this movie. And you just never know. So it's like the whole, you don't know what you don't know. I could have said no to this job, but well, you might have met this person, or this might have came of it, or this video might actually not be too bad. Or I've done so many videos where it's like going into it, it's like, all right, another day, folks, to the crew, where it's like, we're doing it, gonna get in there, do your job. You're here for the income, not the outcome. And shit, this was the coolest video we did this whole month. It's the coolest thing I did.
Why? Break it down.
Because
you took the gas off, or because
sometimes
you didn't give a shit. And sometimes not giving a shit means you gave every shit.
I was gonna say that not giving a shit is a funny.
I mean, dude, honestly, my career took a humongous shift when I stopped giving a shit about everybody else.
That's a funny term though. That's a slippery slope. Not giving a shit, because it's like sometimes whenever I act like I'm not giving a shit, it's like,
you know what I mean. I'm addicted to this game.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm addicted to this shit. I'm what age am I in now? And how long have I been doing this?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
My track record is impeccable.
Yeah. You said earlier you were talking like, what I really liked working with you was that you were available, and it felt like you spent a lot of time with it. Well, I was busy whenever we did those videos, and I had a lot of shit going on. But I felt like I was available, and I felt like I was spending a lot of time. I fucking love what I do. I really, really love it. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but I will do shit until I fall asleep with an iPad in my hand and I'm drawing out a lighting diagram. I will do shit until I will go from this to that to I have done where I scouted in Columbia at 9 a.m. and I had a scout in Springfield at 1 p.m. And I didn't tell either party that I had the other scout. I just figured out a way to get there.
I do notice that about you.
And so you have to.
You've kind of outlined that even in this hour or so that we've been talking. But that
you have to.
That leads me to a serious question. Because I'm friends with a lot of DPs.
Mm-hmm.
Are you? And this comes up a lot in conversations. Are you at all fearful of being typecasted as a DP? As you want to move into long form, do you feel you need this? Or is it more like opportunity is opportunity, or the politics of designing your craft to be explicitly what someone's wanting to see is antiquated? So
there's two things I want to take from that question. But the first one is, I actually had a really great conversation with Nick Allen about that, because Nick, I don't want to speak for Nick, but I know you're going to talk to him.
I'm definitely going to talk to him.
And talk to him about this, where it was something that we talked about where Nick just moved to LA about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. That's been like 2 years, I guess. Nick has done some of the biggest music videos in Los Angeles, and Nick wants to do long form. Mm-hmm. But he pops out to LA. He's an incredible music video director. He does really big music videos. So that makes sense for him. And like you said, it's like the typecasting thing where it's like, he is really fucking great at that thing. And he's like, well, I want to do movies. It's like, well, you're doing music videos. And so there is a little bit of that, but I'm a firm believer in you just speak into existence what you want and make leaps and bounds and forward efforts to that. And someone was going to call you and say, hey, you said you want to make movies, right? Let's make a fucking movie. And so I'm a believer in that. And I'm like, it's the same way with I started. I want to work with country music artists and work in country music and make visuals for that. Well, this chick that I know is posting on Facebook about this guy doing country music. Mm-hmm. You better figure out how to work with him. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a firm believer in like, you don't know what you don't know, and get involved, and things will fall into place.
At some point, the rubber has to meet the road.
At some point.
And you need to know how fast you're going to press on the gas and shift gears to the next director you're going to approach.
Yeah.
As you climb the ladder.
Yeah.
there's politics to everything.
The politics of it, there's a lot of politics in the, I think that's not even a politic, is the nature of meeting people too soon.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can meet people too soon. And I have people in all departments at this point that I've worked with that are like, oh, that producer only ever sees me as a PA, even though now I'm a production designer, or now I'm a first AC. It's like, that producer hired me 3 years ago as a PA, but no, I've only firsted the last 2 years, or I've only production designed the last 2 years. And so there is, you can meet people too soon. It's like if you and I would have worked together when I was working with Cadillac 3,
sure,
we wouldn't be sitting right here having this conversation. But we met at a good time.
Yeah.
When I had some reps, I had met some people, I had done some stuff. I knew enough about lighting, I knew enough about blocking, I knew enough to where I could go into a set and feel right. And so there's not the politics side of it, but there's just the moment side of it. And that's what it's like, you got to speak into existence, but you also have to be a crazy person who's willing to do crazy things, which is be working on lighting plots until you fall asleep with an iPad pencil in your hand, and then you wake up and you be like, man, I thought this would look good, and then you change it 3 times, and then you go look at 2 movies, and then you go get on a shot deck and you spend an hour scrolling. You have to be crazy about it. You have to be crazy if you're going to want to do anything.
Yeah, because you have to then, if you're going to put that much time into what we're going to, sitting on your couch, figuring out the lighting scheme. Yeah, but that has to happen under the pressure of the clock.
Yep.
Under which, the director shows up late, or the art, the reason I don't do shot lists, I have action lists. As you know, I know I know in this sequence, the biggest shot that's going to come from this is X. I'll write it down. If the client wants a shot list, it's going to be wide, medium, close up, insert, OTS.
That's
over the shoulder. I will get it from every scene. Every scene, I'm gonna get a wide, medium, close up, insert. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's just what it is.
Sure.
Now in the edit or in
you already know where you're going.
I already know where I'm going. The clock, you're like, Troy.
And you and I have already talked about
Troy, you got 15 minutes, okay? I've shot nothing but wides. Let's get let's go long lens wide. Therefore, we'll get the dirty and the wide in one, and then what do we owe? Okay, boom, got it. Move on.
Sure. I think that's great. I think that have the realistic expectation of what you're going to do and what you need to satisfy people. Those things are also things that are marriages that you have to get a little bit politicky with sometimes. But another thing that I wanted to touch on a second ago about being a crazy person. So I mentioned earlier that one of the reasons that I got off the road was because I was chatting with Alex Ferrari, and he was like, I was describing to him what I liked about being on sets, film sets.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, dude, you want to be a DP? And literally, he just told me that straight up. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, so what Nick does is what I want to do. And he was like, yeah, everything you just described, because I was like, I like walking into a place and we have to accomplish this with, like, on the screen has to be this, and here's the set.
Yeah.
And I loved figuring out how to make that work, storytelling wise, making it look good, like logistically, like I love all that shit. So what had happened was I got, and this is actually really, I want to chat with you about this on the flip side, because you've actually flipped this. So I was basically, like I said, I quit doing tour video and I became like tour photographer for 2 years, met a bunch of other tour photographers that I love and still close friends with this day, blah, blah, blah. And dude, I got to the point, and I knew this, I got to the point where strap around my neck and a camera down here, and that felt like I had to clock in and go to work. I was fatigued of it because it was like I was so into it for an extended period of time. And I got burnt out, basically. And I was like, what do I like doing about this? I loved the things that I started, which was the lyric videos and filming my friends doing the things that was happening, blah, blah, blah. And so that's when I got into, I want to be a DP because photography is exhausting. And there's a bunch of things that I can say about this, because the documentary thing about it, the documentarian part of photography on the road is you're kind of really, really reliant on the moment, whatever's happening, and there's beauty in that. I'm not saying there's not in there. I feel like I had some shots that I'm really proud of, and I enjoyed looking at, and feel like they mean something to the artist, and like they've worked on a book and they've put a few of the photos that I did in it, and that feels great. But the thing about cinematography and directing as well is that you take control of a story. And I'm not trying to take away from photography, saying
Because I
don't
do that in
take
my photography.
I'm not saying that you don't do that.
No, I agree.
But what I'm saying is like the part of being a cinematographer is that I can bring in and say, sit here like this, and look
Create
this
the
way.
moment, control the moment.
And how I learned to do that was enough times of, oh, when they were sitting like this or standing like this or standing in this part of the room, it doesn't look very good. So that's how I was able to transition into video, was because I was like, they set like this, looks fucking cool. Or when the light's over there and they're sitting like this and I'm over here and they kind of have an edge and like kind of have this and they're looking over here like this. And it's like, oh, there was a moment. And so it's like I was able to translate all that into being able to light and being able to move the camera and like all those things. And so I got fatigued of literally wearing a camera on my neck. And
feeling like you were chasing the moment. You weren't in control of the moment. You had to chase it. You were 2 steps behind,
Yes.
trying to reverse engineer,
Yep.
craft a way to get the moment.
Yep.
Boom.
Yep.
And or you got what you got.
Yep, that too. And so what that's done in turn in my personal life is I love the art of photography. I love it. I love looking. I love respecting. I love looking and enjoying real great photography work. And like when it's real great, you notice immediately. Like, you know, oh, boom, that's fucking awesome.
For sure.
What that's done is I own cameras and I own things to shoot stuff. And I don't even like carrying a camera around with my family because it feels like work. It feels like I have to clock in.
I'm that way. With photography, I'm that way.
And so I'm interested to hear how you, because obviously I was not with you for your earliest part of your career. I've heard stories and I've seen things and I know what exists online. It feels like you started more in the video and you've transitioned more into photo. So I'm interested to hear, is there any part of you that feels like the video side is work? Or why did you feel like you needed to make the transition into?
For sure.
Because I made the opposite transition. You know what I mean?
You did. And that's a great question. But when I first got into like thinking I was going to be into some kind of imaging, it was when my friends were in bands.
Okay.
And I'm like, I just didn't feel cool enough to be like, you know, "Hey, live, you know, singing Pearl Jam. You know, I wasn't that, but I was admiring the fashion, the busted jeans and just the looks of it and the underdog. And I started with photography.
Okay.
I didn't know.
So you did start with
Yes.
photo originally.
Yes. I took in some camera. It took some 35, my dad's camera.
Yeah.
It was cool. I had a place. I had a place to be. Now, at some point, I got addicted to the music video, and that's when I moved to LA. And it was
Did you ever only do video? Where you didn't touch camera, like a stills camera for years?
when I moved to LA, it was straight directing, and I was homeless for a while. I got a place, had a tooth. It's all kinds of stuff. We'll get into that some other time, or you know, whoever. But the what was the question? The question was.
So I made the transition because I kind of started more photography based, but I was dabbling in video, and I said I'm going to full commit to video because photo feels like work. Video feels like.
So video for me was the accomplishment. When I became accredited director directing music videos for huge artists, I felt like this is it. This is it.
Sure.
At some point when directors were making the leap to commercials, I stayed because I was young.
Sure.
I wanted to be in the hip, young, fresh music video world.
In the middle of it, yeah.
I was in the middle of it, you know, so I didn't make that leap to the commercials. Maybe it was a mistake, maybe not. I don't know. I followed my heart. I wasn't a musician, but I understood.
Sure.
Climb.
Yeah.
You know, somewheres along the way in directing, things became a committee process. It became like you were sharing too much of you, you know? And so if I said, you know, 15 people later, it would be red.
Yeah.
And like, that's an analogy of just how big it got.
Yeah.
And to counter that, I felt like photography was something that I was like, okay, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it my way. And that's going to be the antithesis, the opposite of what the directing was.
Interesting.
The opposite. big crews and da 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 da. No. This is going to be a camera, and I'm going to brand myself as this because it was so addicting. It was so new to me to approach a career. Technically, I'm starting over in a way.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Literally.
I was a student of it.
Yeah.
It felt fresh. But I had all of this immense directing wisdom, knowledge, experience.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just basically self-taught the new me of photography from my directing.
Sure.
So that's why my style has a look.
Yeah.
It is cinematic. It is horizon-based.
Yeah.
It does know my verticals. I can horizon verticals in a second.
Yeah.
I can find, because as a director, you're not cropping in. You're not zooming in, reposition.
Yeah.
You're committing to the four corners of the frame, especially for me coming back with film. Even more so. You are shooting 8K red.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like my frame. We didn't have enough time. Let's zoom in.
Yeah.
No, you got what you got.
Sure.
And by the way, you have 2 more rolls of film and then you're done. Well, we have 3 more hours of shooting. Well, you got 2 more rolls of film. We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've got a story of Chris Probst. I can't wait to tell that story. We did anyway. What was the question? I don't know. We've had some drinks, but
It's the transition.
the idea is basically, yes, photography for me was something I could own. I'll tell you something. As a question as a DP, you know what I have for you?
What's that?
You know what fucked me up as a DP?
What's that?
I shot a lot of things myself.
Yeah.
Spending all that time, crafting all that work, doing all of that stuff, then handing it off, hoping your baby is okay in the hands of the director, that director, he or she is going to have the vision to know what DP, don't like and what we didn't do right. And, you know what I mean? I'm a frame fucker. I want every frame to be perfect, flawless.
Yeah.
That didn't happen as a DP for me. And that passing off was very hard.
Yeah.
And even as a director, this is where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
I felt, even if I had accomplished what I wanted visually, I'm still handing off.
Yeah.
And though now most artists and everybody's like, what you want, you get. Hey, can we add a few more of this or that? Sure, I got that. Let's make that work.
Sure.
Most likely, it's a cut that's going to be delivered.
Yeah.
But photo for me was like, I can shoot, come home, play with it,
Own it.
send it, let it do its thing. Holds more value as it comes back to me. Photo. And mind you, it's come from a career of, like this podcast called In the Trenches. I mean, literally in the trenches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're talking 28 plus years of
Yeah.
figuring out a style,
Sure.
figuring out the pitfalls, the do's, the alleyways that are like, yeah, I'll go down it. Yeah, you're getting jumped midway. That's not a good alleyway. We'll learn that lesson next time. You know what I mean? Because that's what this business is, and that's what this podcast, I hope, is. Yeah, we're talking about stuff, and we're colleagues, and we talk on
Yeah.
But like, I hope people listen and want to hear and take pieces of what our journey
Yeah.
is.
So that leads me to a question.
Sure, I'm happy to answer anything you got.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier about being processed by committee.
Yeah.
Video is very processed by committee. It is.
Sure.
It does not matter. The funny thing about being a DP is some of the best compliments I get, someone tells me, I really like what you did here. This is awesome. It's like the cinematography is no different than this other video that nobody likes over here that I did. It's that the production designer was on point. The costume designer was on point. Artist.
5 elements. I always say it, the 5 elements, like you're just saying it, they all have to click.
They all have to click. And it's like, to me, that is the coolest part about the committee thing of filmmaking, is that it takes all of the team to make something that doesn't suck. And so, question that I have from that is like something that I struggle with is, and it is really interesting because I call myself a filmmaker, and you know, making a film that is like your baby is your film, but it's something that I am interested in. Obviously, something you can tell. I can look at this wall behind you, and I can see that like you and that person made that, or you and those people made that. Am I really doing art as a cinematographer if I'm doing music videos? Because it's the same as a commercial. It's like, well, I'm really making this person happy. I might be making the director happy, but that director is just making the producer and the commissioner happy, and that commissioner is just making that management company happy, and that management company is just making that artist happy. And sometimes you don't even ever talk to that artist. And so it's like,
That's a great question. And it's honestly a great question for someone like me. Because
can I tell you something that you do that's you ask things that are different?
I might need another drink real quick.
Sure, have another drink.
Fill that real quick. We got a few. Let's do it.
Something that is unique about you that I have never seen anywhere else. I take that back. Patrick Tracy is really in with Dan and Shay, and he is really like, they're called Dan and Shay, but in my opinion, it might as well be called Dan and Shay and Patrick Tracy.
Okay.
But I've felt that with you with like, this is a bigger picture thing, but it's like the whole 10 or 12 people writing a treatment for a song. I just feel like you don't participate in that. You get with the artist and you talk about what the song is, and you build that together. And so you have an ownership of that in terms of, I feel like with you and Michael, you and Wolf, you and insert other artists that you've done all these videos with. It's like you two are the spearheads of the thing. And particularly Bailey. Bailey is a great example of like, Bailey has a very clear identity of who he wants to be and who he is. And you have a very clear identity of who you are and who you want to be. And you made something that tied those two things together. And so something that you do that is unique is that it really feels like, as a cinematographer, that I am actually making a project for my director, not just the artist 5 people detached from me. And so that is something that is incredibly unique about you. So I'm interested to hear in how you, like, because the bottom line is the cinematographer, like, no matter how many awards or what, I don't give a shit about the awards. Sure. It doesn't matter how many awards it gets nominated for. My name is 7 or 8 names. No matter how much I impacted the final product, I'm 7 or 8 names down the list of people affiliated with that project. And so I'm interested to hear your perspective on how you value what is truly your art, because obviously your art is very distinct, but at the same time, you're really just properly representing the artist. So I'm interested to hear about.
That's a great question. That's the question. I would say that was something I learned over the years. From the get-go, from the beginning, I have been an artist's guy. I have forced the hands of record labels, so therefore artists trust me.
Yeah. I think that's part of your process too, not just...
Yes. I live in the work.
Yeah.
I talk to Troy constantly. I'm throwing ideas. I mean, his phone is ringing 6-7 times minimum from me. And sometimes it's just a question. I have to get it out of my head. I live with these songs pretty good. It's never just, hey, Spidey, here's a song. Hey, can you come with a treatment in 2 days?
Friday at 2, yeah.
No. I'm not doing that potluck. I'm not doing that. I'm going to live with this. I'm going to study this. I'm going to talk to the artist. I'm going to talk to the label. I'm going to figure out what everybody's wanting. I guess my reputation precedes itself. I guess like Jake Owen has said many times, like, you've put in, everyone knows you put in the sweat equity.
Sure.
So maybe that is, but I'm also good at being servicing to everyone. So everyone knows what the game plan is, but please, when we get to the game, it's for me to play. It's for me to play. And truly, I am making a piece of work that I enjoy. I love.
Yeah.
If I love it, if I'm in the trenches going hard in the paint for this, then that means I'm calling my DP 7-8 times. I have an idea. Blah, blah, blah. I don't like your idea. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, can you meet with me over here just for this 1 second?
Yeah.
I know your kids are going to get picked up from school, but do you get 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Because time matters. When people see you go the extra mile, they trust you for that. I don't phone this in. Nobody would ever think for a second in my career that I would phone something in. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so therefore I do feel I get left. I get hit up on things, but I also have developed a team of people that can shield me,
Sure.
protect me from, and those are things I learned from Marcus Nispel. God, I mean, as a director, I should mention, look up Marcus Nispel, director of Pathfinder. I mean, every big music video from Greedy Flybush. Anyway, he would have walls up. It wasn't like, for him, it might have been an ego thing, but like for me, it's just like I'm in the process. I think most artists see that. I'm engaging with them to bring them in. Like you said, the idea comes from a collaborative thing. We do more or less get either sent in to meet with the artist and come up with the idea.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean we come up with it tomorrow. You know, Wolf will give me an idea. Shit. I'll have a whole mix of an entire record for months. So I think that for me, I'm glad you said that, because I do a couple things I want from my sets. When people get off of my jobs, I want people to be like, I had a great time. That was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Or even PAs
Sure.
to be come up to me and be like, and it happens every single job, Troy. Every single job. I learned so much from watching you. And I dig that.
Hell yeah.
I dig that.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't know how to answer it. I like what you said 10 minutes ago. You love this. So do I.
Yeah.
I still love it. Like I'm doing exhibit or, those early videos.
Yeah.
Good
Okay.
job.
Here's my question real quick.
There's no quick. We got time. What a fresh train. Let's go. There's no time.
What?
You got the 7 a.m. flight. I don't.
You said, I love this. What do you love? What is this? Because I know what mine is. I want to know what yours is. What is your this?
How many people get to show up, get ready to go to work as if they're Patrick Mahomes going to the Super Bowl? How many people get to go take a shower and get pumped like you're Rocky Balboa, getting ready to go fight Apollo Creed? How many people get to go to work and feel like maybe for a second they're like in their mind a Steven Spielberg? I go to work because I have this adrenaline. I've never lost it. I love creating. I love the feedback. But that's the feeling. It's the feeling of going to work, listening to your play mix, getting in your head, getting to that rock star mentality to go get in the trenches with another rock star who's looking at you for advice. He's not looking, the artist is not looking for a yes person. I learned that. I can go into that for God knows how long. But I really am. When artists work with me, they know I'm in the trenches for them. Because I'm in it ultimately for me.
Sure.
And therefore my keys, my crew, my guys. Yeah. I mean, I would think that most crew members in Nashville will take the shirt off their back for me. Sure. Why? Because they know I'm leading in the trenches. I'm leading by example.
Sure.
I don't know if that answered that question.
Yeah.
It is,
that's great.
Over the span of a long career. Yeah. It's like, you said at the beginning of this podcast, you're like, you see your show on CMT, your show. That's how, your video on MTV and on CMT. I remember watching a video once and like sitting in bed. I had 3 roommates and I remember watching a video and I'm like 30 seconds in. I'm like, cool. Oh shit, I directed this. My wife, we met for many months and she finally found out. She's like, you did that Good Try video? You did that? I was like, shut up. the business has changed. You know, it's a wonderful place, man. I look forward to seeing where you're going.
Sure.
You're going far.
Was that?
Do you feel like you need to branch out to Atlanta? Is there TV calling your?
So when I was on the road, I felt the fatigue pretty quick. I was like, okay, this is work. This is, at this point, it turns into work, blah, blah, blah. When I am doing videos, I feel like I haven't even fucking started yet.
Sick.
And it's like, I'm almost, because, you know, the nature of what we're doing is 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, sure.
And so it's like, I need to do that. You don't know what you don't know. It's like, I need to do a movie that's like 40 days and it's hell. And it's like, I'm getting paid nothing. Like, I need to do that. I haven't done that yet. And so, I don't know what I don't know yet, but I definitely want to get into more long form stuff because, so your this, I love this was what you just said. My I love this is process. I love the process, and it comes to, I love coming into nothing, an idea, and leaving with, here's what we did. Thank you. And I love, that's it. I love from the idea to what we deliver. I don't care about anything. I care about some of the stuff before, but I don't care about anything after. To me, it is, I want to hand in something that I put blood, sweat, tears into. Here it is. See you on the next one. Mm-hmm. And that's how I am. So I want to go into a project that I tuck my head, put my chin down, and I work on it for 6 months. I want to do that.
You're going to excel.
That's the thing that I love. I love what I do is I love going into a set and I love thinking about, okay, there's 2 guys, there's microphones, they're sitting at a table and they're looking at each other, and it needs to feel like tension. You need to feel that tension. I love, okay, sweet, thanks, director. I'll take it from here. And then my goal is, as I said about the Michael Ray videos, like, I want you to go be chatting with this producer, this agency, this client, whoever, and
dance.
And then you go over here an hour and a half later and you sit down at the monitor and you're like, yes, good. Exactly what we talked about. And I want my directors to have that confidence in me, and I want to have it. Paul Williams is a gaffer in town. Paul Williams is a gaffer that I talk to all the time, and I say, we sit down at the monitor and we look at the monitor and we're like, it's pretty good. We got away with it again.
Yeah.
So we always say,
enough for the girls we date.
We got away with it.
Man.
You know?
I appreciate you taking the time out, man. I know you got a 7 a.m. flight and you got to get home. You got anything else you want to chat about? We got plenty of time. I'm not worried about it.
Dude, my big thing that I wanted to chat about was just like, because we both love what we do.
Very passionate people.
And I just wanted to kind of pick your brain on what your this is. And that's, to me, dude, it's like, there is no doubt in my mind. Once in a while, because I come from a background where nobody in my family had any sort of artistic outlet in any capacity.
I'm the black sheep.
Farmers, teachers, hospital, like people, like very important real jobs that actually, I'm not going to say matter, but are working in the daily forces. What I'm doing is completely different. I'm the only one in my family who does anything like what I do. And so it is very, like you said, black sheep of the family, but never in the last 5 years of me being a part of this, since early 2018 of me like committing to what I'm doing, I am very confident I will be doing this.
Yeah.
Until it's funny, I have a IRA account started or Roth, and I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm never going to fucking retire.
Never. I only know what I know. I'm never going to retire.
It's like, I might do different things or slow down or whatever, but I'm like,
visual.
I'm like, this is what I do. This is me. And so I'm to the point where this is me is the process of an idea to a visual medium, whether that is, sometimes it is photo. I do still dabble in photo once in a while.
Do you miss it? Would you ever start as a career, or do you ever do it as a feather in the cap? DP photographer? I mean...
Okay, so what we were talking about earlier is sometimes I feel like the cool part of being so I'm 7 parts detached usually from the artist, a lot of times. 5 or 6 parts at the minimum. And...
On my jobs, were you?
No, with Michael. No, dude, with Michael. I don't know what we can talk about on here, but it was you, Michael,
yeah,
standing on a dog.
boom, 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 done.
Yeah.
Because we've already, I'm interrupting, but we've already done our homework. If you're seeing something, go to the source.
Yep.
Trust me, Michael Ray's over at this house hanging out.
Yeah. He sat on this dog fishing with his buddies.
It's good. Talk. But get it done. I've got something else in my mind.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But if it were to be happenstance where a friend of mine, somebody I know, or somebody I see coming up, or whatever it is, if they were to come across the board and they were like, would you help us mold the visual side of kind of what you do? Like, obviously, it's very evident with the artists that you work with. There is a very distinct thing that is happening that feels real and true to that artist. And man, I really don't want to keep going forever. But
Where did you go? Talk. Dude, I got
back.
talk.
Back to being choosy, I feel like something that you said one time stuck with me tremendously.
Oh no.
Again, I will not name names because
Don't mention names, but go deep.
one time you told me I went to go do this photo shoot and I showed up, and this is, I'm speaking as you were. I showed up and the guy that I was shooting said, dude, I don't want my picture. I don't really even like my picture being taken. It's like, just make me look cool, and then that's all we need, man. Mm-hmm. And then you told me, you're like, I hated that. I didn't want to work with that guy. And to me, that stuck with me. And it's like, oh, that's how you become choosy.
Yeah. That's
how you pick the jobs that are like, you build an identity with. It's like, you don't like your picture being taken. You know, I'm a photographer, right? That's what I do for a living.
Yeah, this is it.
This is what I do.
We're in the moment. We're at the dance. My hand is on your ass.
And so it's
Let's go.
My first no, like I said, my first no hasn't happened yet.
The power of no? Dude, I need to title a podcast episode to the power of no.
Yeah.
Oh, the power of no is a great thing.
Yeah. The power of no is something that I have not dabbled in yet. And recently, very, very recently, am I being like, I should have said no. And the reasons is because I care so much about what I do. And if my name is going to be attached to it, it matters so much to me. And if I'm on set and
sure,
I'm the only person who thinks that way.
Yeah. And others are looking at you. You know what I mean? As your stock grows, as your star becomes more shiny, you know, whatever.
Let me tell you about a conversation I had.
Dude, don't look at the clock. We're sorry. We're good. We're good. There's nothing.
Let me tell you about a conversation that I had with a guy named J.P. Summers, John Paul Summers. Haven't talked to John in
I don't know who that is.
3 or 4 years. He's an incredible DP. Last time I talked to him was fall of 2019. Love the guy. He's just really busy in what he does, and I'm just really busy in what I do. We need to catch up sometime. But we were sitting in the car. We had a lot of interesting conversations, but one of them was we were driving down the road, and he's like, what do you want to do, man? He's like, he just asked me, straight up asked me. He's like, what do you want to do? It's like, well, what do you mean, what do I want to do? He's like, well, you know, like when you're 40, 50, 60, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm making movies. And I was on the fence. I was like, what should I do for 2020? And should I continue to tour with Cadillac 3 or whatever? And he's like, he asked me, he's like, well, does taking cool pictures of Cadillac 3 make you any closer to making your first movie? Like, oh, damn. No.
Wise guy.
No, it doesn't. And so he was the reason that I was like, okay, I'm going to become a DP. And I knew that making a music video directly doesn't make me closer to making a movie, but what it does is
it does.
It creates indirect things, which are reps, learning how to light, learning how to move a camera, learning how to meet people who will eventually make movies, all those things. And
we can go on all night with that list of what it's doing. That's why it's a stepping stone.
And like I said, 3 years ago, I told Eric, I said, hey man, I want to make movies. And then a couple months ago, Eric said, so you really want to make movies, huh?
So you're off and doing your first movie.
Doing my first movie.
It's going to be in town.
Yeah. And it's all because John Paul said, and I'm not downplaying anything, the value of what people on the road do or the content that is made or
no.
It is not by any means, but he said, he's like, does taking pictures of Cadillac 3 make you any closer to the movie?
It's where your goal is, where your dreams were.
Yep.
Not where other people. I know people on this podcast who are like, dude, I love what I do. And they create cool, sick ass content for huge artists.
Yep.
Yeah. But where your vision, I mean, you know,
I'm starting to see that in certain music videos, certain media days, certain things that I pick up, and I'm like, this, what we did, what you and I have done, the videos that we've done, and the videos that I've done like that, and videos that I've done that I participate in like that, those are moving the needle on my ultimate goal, which is making a movie. There's music videos and things that I've been on lately that I'm like, didn't move the needle. Or it moved it so minutely that it actually wasn't worth my time because I could be doing this other thing.
that's exactly it. It's a dancing act. Have you gone to agents or anything, or are you kind of?
I have steered clear of all of that, the agent stuff. It's interesting. There's a new DP in town
It's crazy. We used to only book DPs
through agency.
through agencies.
Yep.
It was the only way. I say it like I haven't lived in the past 10 years of fucking hiring DPs because I'm like, yo, I'm doing a job. You ready? Yeah, cool. Boom, boom. Troy, hell, holler at home.
Yeah.
But like, I'm trying to find a contrast of like what you're talking about to like an era of music video making that, you know, you didn't grow up knowing, you know?
Watched it on CMT and MTV.
Crazy. Anyway,
So there's a DP in town named Mike Lloyd. Awesome fucking dude. You should meet
what?
Mike Lloyd. You should meet him, Michael Lloyd. He's awesome. Him and I have hung out a few times. Really great guy. And he shot
Lloyd.
Yeah, Michael Lloyd. He's awesome. He is a movie guy from LA. The typical thing where I was like, kind of got this LA stuff is not for me. Moved to Nashville, bought a place in North Nashville, like just on the north side of Germantown.
A lot of folks. I see the gram, people following them. I'm like, look deep, and I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Killing.
Yeah, and this dude he is like, okay, so him and I have actually had a lot of really good conversations where he started, so I'm 27. He started his career at 27. Picked up a camera for the first time at 27. So him and I've had a lot of interesting conversations about the timeline and how things kind of unraveled. He basically interned for Bob Richardson, like, you know, Robert Rich, the fucking one of the greatest cinematographers of all time. And so he's had all of those sorts of avenues and seen all those sorts of things. So he's done a bunch of movies and stuff. And so him and I were chatting about my first movie ever and what that means for, you know, because the thing is like the hardest movie to get the hardest of anything is the first of that. So the hardest movie to get is the first movie. And so he was talking about, back to your agency question, he's like, what an agent does and helps me do is take that first movie and turn it into my second movie, and then third and fourth. And next thing you know, you're the movie guy who does 4 or 5, 6 movies, and you can do 2 or 3 a year. And him and I had chatted about that. And basically right now what I'm doing, it's just like how you and I met. We hop on the phone. This other director texts me. Sometimes they Instagram DM me, sometimes whatever it is. I don't need an agent right now to be that middleman. For the percentage. But I am getting...
Are you saying for a financial?
Financial. The percentage. The 15, 20%.
You're on, let's be honest, you're here. You're basically saying, I don't need it because I've got the contacts. You've done the legwork. You've pounded the pavement. So therefore, the contacts that you're going to get, 95% of the work.
Yeah.
And you do work a lot.
98, 99.
Exactly. You work a lot in Nashville with the biggest jobs.
Sure.
The biggest, with the best directors. Why would you give that away?
Sure.
No. But
the reason I would...
see, that's something I deal with all the time. They want their cash cow, but then I'm willing to give up a percentage if they're going to give me something that I'm not getting.
Mm-hmm. No. So
they won't.
The reason I would do it is if I truly felt that they had access to that second movie or that third movie or whatever it is. Because if I were to pick up an agent right now or get an agent right now or get repped, it would just be a 15% pay cut.
Yeah, see, like you're gonna want to clue into this podcast because I'm gonna get the heavy hitters.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get. And that's the questions I want to know. You know, like I want to know. I mean, like
again, not naming names, but I have DP friends who are incredibly talented cinematographers that are like, damn, dude, I got an agent 2 years ago. They've got me one job. but it's cost me 20% of my income.
But I've been delivering on my direct contacts that I've built. I have to kind of grease their wheel.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, there's been one rep, and that's been Tommy Labuda from the beginning. It's been like, I start with him, he started with me.
Yeah.
But everybody else, it's just been like, the system.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm not their cash cow, so therefore I'm paying their rent maybe, but like it's not doing anything for me.
Yeah.
Asia, that's a big. I hate that we're getting to it. 2 hours in, but like there is a thing. What is having a rep, having an agent beneficial? It is at some point.
Yes, not
At
in this
some
market,
point.
not in the national music video market.
God, no. I mean, why would you? Yeah,
There's like 5 or 6 producers, and if you know the 5 or 6 producers, what the hell would you need an agent for?
exactly.
That sounds so arrogant.
No,
I'm not trying.
It's not. But you've earned the right at that table now.
Sure.
You see, that's where I kind of feel. There's a handful of DPs, and some of them leave. I mean, I remember. Do you remember Dustin Lane? Dustin Lane is a DP that I chatted with recently. I was like, "Yo, Dustin, I'm doing a podcast. I'd love to have you on." And he's like, "I'm down."
Yeah.
We have such great stories of early videos I did when I was here. But he was.
Let me know when he comes to town because I want to hang out with you guys afterwards.
For sure. He would AC jobs.
Yeah.
He would AC my jobs when I would have Dermot Downs or I have someone fly in, thinking, I gotta have an LA job, gotta have the LA guys, like the Nashville. But like that didn't take long before I'm like, Nashville's got the talent.
Sure.
Got it all.
Sure. I am making, because like I said, there's a few producers in town, so I know a lot of them pretty well. And so something that I'm really working towards, a specific goal that I have right now. Obviously, movies is a long-term goal. Specific short-term goal that I have is there's a lot of productions that come to Nashville because there's a lot of celebrities, there's a lot of athletes, there's a lot of people that live here in town. So big commercials come here naturally, just kind of coming to that talent.
Fly one less person.
And I'm like, let's just make it to where you don't have to fly the DP in from New York or LA.
I got your AC and your DP.
I'm sitting right here.
You're at that. You're at that.
Well, it hasn't happened yet, but I'm trying to get it to the point where it's like when big production company comes here, big agency comes here, whatever it is, like my name gets thrown in to that hat of, hey, we actually have some talented cinematographers here. We don't have to go to
get in with Gear 7, baby.
I love I love the Gear 7 folks.
It seems like they're doing all the jobs that fly in because they got the whole infrastructure, and I love Kirk, so it's like Gear.
They have obviously the beautiful studio and all the gear and good people over there too. But I want to be, whenever, like I said, you don't have to fly in some guy from LA.
No. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did I intimidate you when we first worked together?
No, I don't want to say directly intimidated. So because
I get that a lot. With DPs, like, I was so scared shitless. I'm like, really? Why? I mean,
no, I have to. This goes out to my old man here. My old man,
roast me, dude. Roast me.
No, my dad. People. It's so funny. People ask me all the time, like, how the hell did you just have confidence to do this stuff when you didn't know what the hell you were doing? I'm like, I still don't know what I'm doing, but I was like, my dad is always, I don't know how to word this. My dad is always, when he's in the room, everybody's like, oh, there's Marty. That's him right there. And it's like, if he's your boss, he's telling you what to do. And so I just grew up where I never felt scared of a leader. I was like, let me listen to you and hear what you're saying.
Ooh, a leader. See, there you go.
And so that is the number one thing that I took away from my dad in a professional setting. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, my dad is my dad. Let me listen. Okay, what do you got to say? Cool, let's figure it out. And it's like, I don't care how hot-headed you are, or how quick we're moving, or how whatever it is. And so it's pretty hard to fluster me the first time we worked together. And
it didn't.
It didn't.
Once.
It didn't. Yeah.
Once. And we've only done 2 jobs.
Yeah.
But I've had my eyes on you.
But also, they were 2 jobs.
Loved it.
But it was multiple days of scouts. We did get
Difficult jobs.
How did we end up with 2 days on that? We had 2 days on the Michael Ray job, right? Didn't we end up with 2 days? Because it was like a travel.
Hold on. Troy, did we have 2 days?
Why did we have 2 days? Why did we have 1.5 days?
I have to. Copy you.
That's right. Shit. Yeah, I was like,
Okay, 1.5.
that was only 1 job, but it felt like we did 3.
Yeah. But is that because we were so into it?
In. Yeah.
See, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's it.
My point with the leadership things, I never. A funny story about Justin Clough that him and I had.
Sure.
First time Justin Clough and I had a job together, we had a job where I was very intimidated with him. Justin might have been the first like director that I worked with that was like, oh, I know his work. I've seen his stuff on television. I've seen his stuff on the whatever. I've seen his stuff on YouTube. And then I was like, I would watch the video all the way through and then it would say directed by Justin at the end, you know. So he was the first one that I worked with that was like that level of stature kind of thing.
Sure.
And so he yelled at me the very first job we did. And it didn't bother me. And I was like, he's like, hey, it should be this way. And I was like, well, I thought we talked about it this way. He's like, oh, yeah, right. And then we would just kind of got back to it. And he called me the next day. He's like, hey, man, sorry about like, got in the moment there for a little bit. And I was like,
Sure.
I was like, well, hey,
You're in it, man.
it's like, well, you don't have to call me and apologize. It's like, it's going to take a lot more than that to offend me, to bother me. And it's like, we were in the moment and we, guess what? You might have got a little bit elevated. I got a little bit elevated, but within 30 seconds, we figured out exactly what we were talking about.
Do we have an elevated moment? I had to. I mean, I don't know. I'm always elevated.
I just feel like, but when I say elevated,
Troy's laughing over there. Like, I'm always elevated.
I feel like we never had a moment where like you were hot on my case or like I was hot on your case or anything like that.
But I got it out in the open before the job. I know for a fact I said things to you that was to like, look, I want you.
You know,
I want you focused on this. Yeah. I don't want you to. I didn't know you yelled enough, but you're doing everybody's shit.
Sure.
Everybody. So I'm like, I don't want what they're doing.
Sure. I do
remember saying that. I don't want that.
You know something.
I want to do what. You know something
that stood out to me about one of the jobs. It wasn't on Michael. It was on Bailey. And I don't know if we can say this. So this might have to be edited out. This might have to be edited out. But
say it.
I remember I had a frame and I set it on Bailey's face, and he was on stage. And I think I was operating, or I can't remember if I had my operator or not. Or I think I was operating. I had it on Bailey. And it was a 3/4 frontal, and I was looking at Bailey, and the lighting, sweet, very nice. And you said, it's 2 CMT. And I said, okay, let me reframe. I remember that to this day. You know how many times I've been at the monitor and I've been looking at X, Y, or Z or whatever the frame was. It's like, 2 CMT.
Well, I was trying. Honestly, it might have been perfect, to be honest with you. And honestly, most of like what my work is I try to. I don't want this episode to go forever, but I learned that from an artist's process is everything to me. Mm-hmm. It's everything. I can make a podcast just on process. And I learned when I was with Yellow Wolf in the studio for 3 or 4 records.
Yeah.
I learned mid-process, mid documentation. It's got the exact process I have.
Mm-hmm.
And I dig it. I dig that element. But for me, I can be intimidating to some people because I know what I want.
Sure.
I know what I want. And for me, I probably was testing you.
Well, you know what?
I was
funny
testing
though,
you.
When it happened, I remembered being like, oh shit, he's right. And then I just went over here. I was like, that's where we needed to be.
Push it.
Yeah.
I wanted to know in my mind. I mean, there's not a situation that goes on that I don't know what's going on.
Sure.
I know my jobs. I know my sets.
Yeah.
And I know how far to leverage. You know, Troy's looking at me half the time. I'm like, right, am I good? All right, come on, go. You know, I do feel like I wanted to be Dylan's. I wanted to make something dark.
Yeah,
We did.
we did.
And we did on both videos.
Yeah.
Both the videos feel so Finchery.
Yeah, they do.
So perfect. Like, everything that we set out to do.
Yeah.
I'm honestly stoked for where you're going. And in features, you say you're about to do a movie.
Yeah.
Is it a genre film or is it a thriller?
It's like rom-com kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's cool. It is, it's with Hideout and those folks. But yeah, dude, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be, again, I'm just using every single day on set as a tool to figure out, and it has been made clear to me, this might actually have to be cut out. One of the producers said to me, this is not an art house film. This is a film for everyone. Yeah. And so you've seen how I work. My work lends itself more to art house films than it does to 2000s rom-coms. And so there's going to be a marriage in the middle.
But that's what you're here to do.
That it meets, that it makes.
You have to have a palette.
Yeah.
And you're adjusting your palette.
It's a little bit the thing we talked about earlier about being the cinematographer has to kind of be a chameleon.
Absolutely.
To an extent to work with. But it's the funny thing of where it's like, I'm a chameleon to what this director, this producer, blah, blah, blah needs, but I'm have my thing that I do. And that's why it's the thing with me that if I could give to any young cinematographer is be involved from day one of the project. I love being involved. Even so, something that I have with a lot of directors is like, I want to see V1 of the treatment, even if V4 or V5 is the treatment that we actually make.
Involved.
Because it's necessary to make the best possible thing. Because like, if I see V1 of the treatment and then V5 is so different, it's like, oh, so this is where the director was, and this is where
it got contaminated.
And so it's like, okay, now I know what we're making. And so I want to be involved from the word go to final color. And you know me, I'm very involved in the whole process. I want to be involved in the whole process because I treat the $5,000 the same way I'll treat the $5 million or $50 million, whatever. And I think that is the most important part of what I do.
It is. Your follow through is impeccable.
I think it has to be if you want to create an identity as a cinematographer. This is my nerd out part, but I get to meet Roger Deakins on Friday.
What? How? What?
Yeah, he's in Kansas City. A buddy of mine set up. Travis Weir set up. He's doing a book signing for his new book, Byways, and so a buddy of mine set it up. So I'm trying to. We'll see how it goes. But my buddy set up the meeting, and I'm trying to get in there and like hang out with him before like the book signing and everything and stuff. So
what would be your one question for Roger Deakins?
What?
Is that the flight you have to get ready for at 7 a.m.? Okay, well, real quick. We're out. What is the one question you get Roger Deakins? Boom. What?
I haven't.
Bam.
I haven't exactly laid it out exactly how I'm going to ask him, but I do think that I'm at an incredibly interesting time in my career to ask him this question.
Be bold with it.
I'm doing my first movie. And, I want to make this type of movie. Where do I make my sacrifice on my first movie to make sure that I get a second movie and the first movie doesn't suck so bad that I get pigeonholed into this kind of movie? So,
dude, that's the greatest question.
We'll
have to have you on for another episode to see what the result is. Dude, that's amazing.
Because he's the greatest cinematographer of all time, and so it's like,
yeah.
I just would be interested to hear what he has to say about someone who's never done a movie, who's getting ready to do a movie. It's like, what would he say to 27-year-old Roger Deakins getting ready to do his first movie? And so,
bro. Can you please holler at me when you get that?
I'll call you Saturday morning.
When you get that result, because that's so cool to meet him and to get that question. That's a powerful question to get out, to get an answer for you to move forward.
Yeah. So his background, Deakins, obviously I'm a huge Deakins fan. His background is documentary. And so in a way, mine kind of is too. It's like touring is documentary.
For sure.
And so it's like I found how to frame through necessity, which is documentary, because you're only given the moment. And so that's how I learned how to frame. And so I'm interested to hear, it's like, where do you compromise and what you think a good frame is versus what needs to happen for the story versus. So I just want to pick his brain on all that. But
Thank you so much for hanging out for however many hours. This is awesome. We can go forever.
No, we can go forever.
I need to stop there because that feels like a good closer to hear about what happened with this Roger Deakins.
Yeah, excited, man.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate
Thanks for having me.
the time out.
Thanks for having me.